It's finally time. Mully is back, and welcome to round 3 of my Smogon tour run during week 4. For those just tuning in and wondering why I'm uploading games from a tour that took place 2 years ago, this was by request from someone who commented on one of my old videos about wanting to see more games from a team that I used to run that was built around offensive trick room Victini back in the very early days of X and Y OU, right around that time when the game, a few months after the game came out. But I only used the team once during this weekly tour run, and I didn't want to just narrate one game, so I decided to narrate all the previous games that have led up to where we are right now. This was the Sunday tournament in particular, and my opponent for round 3 is none other than sogeking. It's probably pronounced sogeking, but I think sogeking sounds cooler, so we're just gonna roll with that. But as you can see, I am running the offensive trick room Victini squad that a few of you are familiar with. I'll leave a link to a previous battle I had with the team for those that are not familiar. The main reason why is because the previous battles took so long and I pissed off a few people. So I succumbed to the peer pressure and switched it up. Sogeking is just running some straight up threats with some clean offensive cores between Scizor, Latios, and rotom-w, and Lando and Excadrill are there to just crush all that oppose them. There are no surprises on the opposing squad when it came to sand offense in early X and Y OU. Keep in mind that Aegislash was in OU during the early days of X and Y when this battle happened. And perhaps even worse, Landorus Incarnate was also OU as well. This is not a long match, so let's jump in. I lead with rotom-w because it's good against pretty much everything Sogeking would lead with. Sogeking also leads with rotom-w, and I just vault switched to try and scout because I wasn't afraid of Excadrill or Landorus coming in, and I don't necessarily give away the Scarf depending on the set Sogeking is running. After seeing Rotom stay in, however, I go to Hydreigon because it's best versus Will-O-Wisp or the Electric Stab, and the former comes my way. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the Draco here to lead off, and Sogeking unsurprisingly goes to Tyranitar. Sogeking saw that I chose Hydreigon to take the Will-O-Wisp and is probably expecting me to be a pure special attacker and maybe not mixed, even though I am mixed gone. I make the completely safe play here and go back to rotom-w. I did this because I was running a bulky spread back then, which was fairly standard at the time, so I figured I could tank anything Tyranitar could throw at me, but Scizor actually comes in. I figured this was my chance to surprise Sogeking and show that I also carry the Will-O-Wisp on the Scarf set, so I go for it, and I miss. This turns out to be huge over the next few turns. The Scizor Mega Evolves, and now I have to take almost 50% from U-turn because of the miss, and Landorus comes in. I have no switch in for Lando at all, so I figured Hydreigon was not worth keeping around against Sogeking's full team, given there are at least 2 switch-ins for it. I go ahead and fodder her off, and Sludge Wave is the play. I bring Blastoise in on the free switch to Mega Evolve and try to force this thing out, and I ran a Calc because I didn't want to go for the obvious Ice Beam that all Blastoise ran back then. I end up going with Water Pulse because it still one-hit KOs Landorus, and Lando can only 2-hit KO with any common move. Latios comes in, and I'm pretty sure Sogeking was expecting Water Pulse knowing Ice Beam is risky with Scizor and rotom-w still around, but here I'm going to go to Ferrothorn expecting the Draco because I don't want Blastoise taking a ton of damage with Sand Up and no leftovers. I also want as many things to threaten Lando out as possible. Sogeking switches to rotom-w though, predicting me to stay in, and I've definitely lost momentum here and I can't stay in because I can't show the surprise that I'm running on Ferrothorn yet. So I go back to my own rotom-w as the only thing I'm willing to have take a Will-O-Wisp, since it's weakened quite a bit, and that turns out to be the case. The other reason for bringing rotom-w in was to try and trick something before foddering it off. So I go for it here, and I catch the Latios, which is okay, I guess. Taking away Life Orb is decent, but Scarf is not much of a downgrade for Latios, if any. But Lati locks in the Draco Meteor here, and I just stick with the plan and keep Rotom in to get the free switch. And I go ahead and take advantage of the situation by going back to Ferrothorn. I go ahead and set up Stealth Rock, and Scizor ends up coming back in. In hindsight, this was actually questionable because I'm not running a standard Ferrothorn set, but the main reason I did it was to make sure Landorus didn't just come in for free. Also, half of Sogeking's team already took damage and only Excadrill actually resists Stealth Rock. And I actually switched to Aegislash, fully expecting U-turn again, but knockoff gets shown instead, which I probably should have seen coming. Going to Blastoise may have actually been better because I had a chance to beat Scizor 1v1 if Sogeking was not running Swords Dance and Scizor will be forced out. But I go ahead and sack Aegislash now that Shuka Berry is gone since it's basically useless, and I bring Victini back in. Here I make what is probably the biggest misplay of the game and go right for V-Create. I should have went for Trick Room for several reasons. This Victini set is slower than Mega Scizor outside of Trick Room due to the 0 speed IVs I was running, and I was very far behind by this point and couldn't afford to play around anything at all. But Lando comes back in and I decide to try and give myself one more chance to sweep with Victini and switch out, but the chances of that are almost nil. I decide to sack Blastoise this time because even though it can hit almost the whole team super effectively, Blastoise is likely slower than even Tyranitar, so I can't sweep with it. Earth Power was the play. I stay in as Lando gets the 2-hit KO, bring Ferrothorn in. The plan is to soften up the whole team with Power Whip first and then try to bring Victini in, hopefully for free to set up Trick Room, because I'm running Choice Band Ferrothorn on this team. Sogeking got completely caught off guard, and I finally clocked this Landorus and put him back in the lamp. Tyranitar comes in on the free switch. This basically confirms that this is a fast Tyranitar, likely Scarf, but there is no investment in bulk at all in this T-Tar. Crunch comes my way, but Sogeking misses out on the KO, and I get to take out T-Tar as well, which is pretty big for Victini, as T-Tar is typically the biggest obstacle that stops Trick Room Victini from sweeping in general. But unfortunately there is another obstacle, and it's the Excadrill we hadn't seen all game, and it really doesn't matter if it's Sand Rush or not. The Life Orb confirms that this is an offensive set, and Excadrill will outspeed Victini outside of Trick Room, and Earthquake is going to lock the matchup for Sogeking. The round 3 curse continues. I've got to say I didn't really play this game very well, which is really terrible because I really like this team and I still like the Victini set even today. Well, this marks the end of the Smogon Tour 17 run for me, so more Gen 6 battles coming from me is highly unlikely. But I hope you guys still enjoyed. If you guys like what you saw, hit that like button just below the video. It helps me out immensely when you do. If you didn't like it, then hit the dislike button, but let me know in the comments as to why. And if you guys don't want to miss the future stuff coming down the pipe, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Links to all the social clubs I hang out at are in the description box below. Twitter, Google+, Twitch, etc., etc. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Until next time, I'm out. Take care. Peace.